Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 240, and this is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between, so let's get started. Number 15, so kind of a lighter week for me this week, and number 15 was Deathstroke issue, what are we up to? Issue 31. So, I just haven't been able to get into this arc. I truly believe this should have been a miniseries, just not connected to the Deathstroke main series, just because I missed seeing Rose and Jericho and those characters that I was kind of more invested in those stories compared to this weird Talia al Ghul Deathstroke Batman story. I did like some of the structure here, though. I liked the comparison of Batman and Deathstroke, especially where Jericho says, oh, well, this is how Deathstroke started, and then Robin saying, hey, all I wanted was a hug. So I enjoyed that aspect, but I'm just not interested in the mystery of who Damian's father is, because in the end, I have a feeling they're going to keep it as Bruce Wayne. So, yeah, for me, I gave this 2.5 stars, just not feeling invested in this story. So that is number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is Spider-Man, issue 240, which is the last issue for this series, and Brian Michael Bendis' last Miles Morales story. So, for me, just also have not been liking this arc. I love Miles. I loved a lot of Brian Michael Bendis' stuff with Miles, especially in the Ultimate Universe, but haven't been able to connect with this series, honestly, probably since the beginning. And here, it's an okay ending, but nothing that got me truly emotional, which I would like with a character like Miles and a creator like Brian Michael Bendis. I thought the artwork was very soft, as it has been very soft for this whole entire arc, so for me, I gave it 3 stars. It's not a bad issue, but it's also not a great issue like I think it could have been. So that was number 14. Moving on to number 13, which is Zodiac Star Force, and this is their volume 2, which was delayed for a while, and this lost the momentum for me for this series, where I, found myself not caring about the final battle because it's just been so long since I read that previous issue. Also, the series kind of felt rushed to me. I feel like it could have been more issues. I feel like, in my mind, I thought it was more issues. I thought at least it was a 5-issue miniseries, so I gave this 3 stars. I like the artwork. I still like the tone of this book and its magical girl type setting, but I was a bit disappointed with this second volume, especially with the delays. So I give that 3 stars. Now moving on to number 12. And that was a book that I did an in-depth review on, so I won't go too deep into it, but it's Avengers issue 1. With this issue, the things I really liked was the core 3. I liked Captain America, I liked Thor, and I liked Iron Man, but I felt like this book was way too scattered. There was a little bit too much going on with, Black Panther and Doctor Strange, and then you got She-Hulk, and then Captain Marvel, and then the whole 10 million BC stuff, which I could care less about. It just felt too scattered for an Avengers book, but I like where they're leading to, at least to give me another issue for me to try out. Also, I like the cartoony art style for the book, even if there is some formatting problems, like with the She-Hulk page. Let me see if I can find it. But it was like her walking, and of course it kind of scattered onto the 2 paddles, which we've seen a lot in comics, but then she has her other leg, and it just looks like she has 3 legs, and it just looked weird for me. So overall, I gave Avengers issue 1 3 stars. Moving on to number 11, which is Action Comics Special issue 1, and with this story, the Lex Luthor one definitely was the best, but I had problems with it. I like that there's this older Lex that found out about Clark's identity, but I hated how much of a damsel in distress Lois ended up becoming to make other Lex, our Lex, look better in a lot of ways. I felt like at least if she punched somebody, I would feel better, but she felt very much like a damsel in distress. Other stories here, the middle story, I wasn't very interested in either. That was also a Lex story as well. I just wasn't really invested in that one. And then we got Max Landis story with, love Francis Manapul's artwork, but the story felt a little cheesy to me, as much as I knew the sentiment of like, oh, Lois had this car for a really long time and she loved it, and Clark is, goes above and beyond to make her happy after her car gets crashed. It felt a little cheesy in the end. I'm like, oh, cute. It kind of passed that line for me. It met that line, and then when she was flying with the seed, I was like, all right, it's cheesy. So for me, I gave Action Comics Special 3 stars. It wasn't bad. I liked the 2 stories. The middle one, like I said, was a bit boring to me, but I didn't love any of them, and I did have problems with both of them as well. So, and this is a $4.99 book, but you do get a lot of story. So I'm going to give that 3 stars. Moving on to number 10, which is Hunt for Wolverine, Weapon Lost, issue 1, where I like the story, but I don't know if we need it. You know, it's Charles Soule who is writing Daredevil and also wrote the Hunt for Wolverine one-shot, writing this where I feel like he just wants to write Daredevil, and the story is not necessary for the Hunt for Wolverine. It didn't have to be this character. But on the flip side, I did like the story. I like the way Charles Soule wrote Daredevil. I like that Misty Knight was included in all of it. So I might, and probably will, pick up all the miniseries because I want to really get all of them, and unless I really don't like one, I'll drop it. But I've been trying to get all the Hunt for Wolverine stuff, so I gave this 3.5 stars. I like the artwork. I think the dark tone fit Charles Soule's writing for Daredevil and the character in general, so, but did you need it for Hunt for Wolverine? I don't know. I think it was a little bit of a forced connection. So I gave that 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 9, which is Breathless, issue 2. So I like this book. It's always falling in the middle for me, though. I like the concept, or I would say I like this world of monsters, and I like the 2 main characters, Scout and I think Gracie is her friend's name. I like their chemistry a lot, and their story, and them just trying to figure out why the monster was attacking their facility. I thought that was interesting. The dialogue gets a little wordy at times, and that's something that I feel like it makes it a longer read for me, and I feel like the dialogue could be a little smoother in the book, but I like the characters and I like the concept. Also, I feel like the Inhaler story, I want to see it more involved. I feel like, yes, there's exposition, and it's like, oh, it costs a lot of money to breathe, and obviously it's also a social commentary, but I want it to fit more into the story. I want it to be even more organic into the story, seeing how that's more involved with the monsters and all that. So I gave Breathless issue 2 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 8, which is X-Men Gold, issue 27. And the artwork I didn't really like. I feel like there could have been a lot more emotion with the facial expressions. I didn't really like the shadowing and some of the sketches here. So I didn't love the artwork, but the story was pretty good. I liked Kitty trying to save her fiance, save Colossus. We get some good Rachel story in between all there. Something's going on with her, and she doesn't want to really talk about it. So overall, it's a good point A to point B issue, and I gave it 3.5 stars. So moving on to number 6, which is Rogue and Gambit, issue 5, which is the last issue of, I'm sorry, this is number 7. It's the last issue of this mini-series, and I'm not a huge Rogue and Gambit fan, but I definitely can appreciate this issue. The artwork is gorgeous, especially like scenes where we get to see their past. I mean, it's just beautiful artwork. And I like in the end, it's like Gambit being her anchor. Rogue has to take on all these powers, and you see how much they care for each other, and that's what you want in a romance book like this. So I gave it a solid 4 stars. I thought it was a good, satisfying conclusion for this mini-series. Moving on to number 6, which is a new series, and that is Death or Glory, issue 1. $4.99 book, but a lot of content here. And I really love the structure. I love that the beginning is this kind of fast food joint, and this guy walks in saying, hey, I want like 140 hamburgers. And they're like, what? We're just about to close. They're like teens not wanting to make 140 hamburgers while they close. And then this guy pretty much like kills them. It's like, whoa, that's a way to open. And then we meet our main character Glory and her world and fixing cars and what she's about, and that I guess her mentor is dying, and she's trying to figure out how to save him, but along the way you find out she has an ex-husband. He doesn't seem like the best guy. So I like that the world kind of unravels as you read it. It's not just explained and plopped on your lap in the first issue. We're gonna have a lot of, seems like a lot of issues to learn who Glory is. So I liked it. That was a fun book. Really liked the creative team. Love Bengel's art styles, and I think it fits really well. Love how they draw the cars. I think is really cool. Yeah, it's a cool style. So definitely gonna pick up the next issue. I gave that 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is, let me see, it is DC Nation, issue 0. Another book that I did an in-depth review on, so I won't go too in-depth here, but I liked all 3 stories, and that's what's important. I enjoyed the Batman story, even though I feel like Clayman's artwork was a little weaker than usual. I did like the story where Joker thinks he's invited to Batman's wedding. And then even the Superman story. I think Brian Michael Bendis really hit on the nail who Superman is, and then you have an interesting mystery of where's Lois? Why is she not at the Daily Planet, and why is no one talking about her? And we have a new character introduced into the mix. What's her story all about? So it got me intrigued for more Superman. And the last story probably was my least interested story, but I still liked it, and that was introducing the new Justice League teams and them being scared of saying, oh, are we doing the right thing? And then you see the villains that they're going to encounter. So I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was a really good sampler, and hey, you can't defeat 25 cents, even though it probably should have been a free comic book day book. I did like this one. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is Injustice 2, issue 25, and there's just a lot of fun character moments here. We get to see Blue Beetle and Supergirl interact, and, I think Supergirl's trying to find her place just like Blue Beetle, so that was a fun interaction. Wonder Woman also kind of trying to find her alliance here when she learns that Cassie was sent to the Phantom Zone because of Superman. So her trying to reestablish a relationship with Cassie was really interesting, especially because we haven't seen Cassie in the regular universe for a while. So I like that interaction. But what really made the issue for me was Catwoman, first of all, interacting with Ace. I thought was hysterical in how much she is not a dog person. But then we get to see Bruce's daughter come in and shoot Catwoman and getting ready to shoot Alfred. So, and even their stuff was really interesting. That Talia comes back. So a lot of cool, small moving parts to make an interesting character-driven issue. So Injustice 2, issue 25 gets 4 stars with some gorgeous artwork all the way through. Very consistent. So I gave that 4 stars, like I said, and that is number 4. Alright, moving on to number 3, which is Long Lost, issue 6. Glad to see this book a lot higher than the previous issues, and I really love the artwork. I love the tone, but what really made this issue for me was the past stuff, the flashback, learning a little bit more about our main character's family life, and then that made me more invested in the wood stuff and all this other mystery going on. So I also really liked our main character's sister breaking down, saying, I'm tired of being alone, you kind of deserted me, don't do that again. So some really interesting character moments here, and I really think they got the balance correctly here. Just a little bit of mystery, a lot of character work, and that's exactly what I really enjoyed about issue 1 that we get to see here as well. So I gave that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Batman, issue 46. I had a blast reading this issue. I'm not even a big Booster Gold fan, but I really enjoyed this alternate reality where Bruce is happy and his parents are alive, but things are not going right. Once Booster Gold thinks he's doing the right thing, he says love is love, love is love, love defeats all, and he lets out Catwoman, and in this universe, Catwoman is a serial killer who just knows how to say meow and kills Bruce's parents, and Batman around, or this version of Batman is around, Bruce kills or at least shoots him in the head, so you get to see Bruce use a gun, and everyone's pretty much like dead in the end, and you're like, oh, how's Brewster gonna get out of this? So it was a lot of fun seeing this alternate universe, and I just love Tony S. Daniels' artwork, and I really like Tom King's relationship with artists, and you can see the scripting here, especially, I just like the the way everything transitions. I just really love the paneling, and it's just really great. So, and I love like the single page splash page here with Catwoman and Booster Gold saying, "I don't know how so," and it's very obvious he doesn't, patching Catwoman's costume. It's kind of older style costume for Catwoman. Some really great artwork here. So I gave this 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1. This is the obvious one for me this week, and that was Go-Go Power Rangers issue 9. Damn, I love this issue. This was so good. I loved Kimberly as the Ranger Slayer. I mean, just the collaboration between Ryan and Dan Mora is so good. I love the artwork. I love the new style for Kimberly with the Ranger Slayer. I like her hairstyle, and that they make comments about it in the comic. But there's even like these subtle moments. So you see that's a flashback of Kimberly, and she has her legs spread out to, you know, hold herself up. And then you see the same exact position as the Ranger Slayer in the present. I thought was really cool. And then just the action shots of showing how much better this version of Kimberly is compared to the team, because the team just kind of recently formed in this unit, or this timeline with Go-Go Power Rangers. So, but one thing I loved about this book is that you don't know what Kimberly's motives are, because you have the opener where Kimberly's being nice. She's helping out Bulk and her teachers, and you're like, okay, so is she mean? Is she not? And then she attacks the Power Rangers and all that, and you're like, all right, is she working for Lord Draken? Now she's teaming up with Rita. And in my mind, it's just like Kimberly has her own motives. And I also have a theory, maybe Kimberly is pretending to be working for Lord Draken, that way she could kind of save the day in the end. I could see that happening. There's a lot of different possibilities, and that's what I really liked here, is that you got to see different facets of Kimberly's personality, but also our Kimberly going through a lot. You know, her parents really finalizing their separation and, I guess, divorce that we know has happened in the show. We're really seeing the process of that. You know, other Kimberly and Mighty Morphin just dealing with Tommy's death. Kimberly's going through a lot of stuff. But yeah, a lot of great stuff in this issue from all the characters, but especially Kimberly, and she's my favorite Power Ranger, so I really enjoyed this one. So I gave this 5 stars. Really great stuff. Probably my favorite Shattered Grid issue so far. Really enjoyed this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Inno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.